Man, that Mandalorian beats in my head. I like it. All right, so episode 3 of The Mandalorian, it's hit Disney Plus. I saw it, now I talk about it. I'm saying there's light spoilers on this one too. I don't tell you exactly what happens, but there's some implication, and there's enough to where it's like, yeah, take a half an hour out of your day, go watch it, and then come back here and get my thoughts. So this being a 30-minute long episode, again, this is not much to talk about, but there's enough to talk about. In this episode, the 30-minute time frame, it didn't bother me as much, probably because I've been binging Gargoyles, which, let's face it, that's the best reason to get Disney Plus if you're gonna get it. They got some good stuff on there, but it's like Batman the Animated Series, which is not a Disney Plus, and Gargoyles. Those are like top tier 90s animations. Granted, Spider-Man, X-Men, the other ones, but those are top 2 for me. But in this episode, again, simple premise. He's going to turn in the package, and he has to decide whether or not he's okay with that. He's gonna hold to the code and be like, all right, yeah, the code's the code, the job's the job. Or if he's gonna have a crisis of conscience about it, which is always a great thing to put your characters through, because, you know, we gotta see some humanity. And that's the thing about The Mandalorian is that he shows a lot of that humanity. Throughout the show so far, these 3 episodes, the thing you get is that he's not just some unstoppable badass Mandalorian. There's even a scene in here where there are a lot of other Mandalorians in the room with him, and you're like, God, just by looking at them and by attitude, you feel like these guys are bigger than him. And maybe he could beat them in a fair fight. But it really does feel like the jocks surrounding just the average kid in school. Maybe the average kid can throw down and know how to fight, but he's not the biggest of them. You don't feel like he's like, I'm some unstoppable Mandalorian badass sentinel. My religion is built around armor and weapons. Yes, that's how I carry myself. I'm the biggest and the best. He just looks like a normal dude who just happens to be a Mandalorian. Granted, I don't know much about my Mandalorian lore. I'll be the first to admit it, so maybe you can help me out. But even in the flashbacks where it shows who I assume are his parents running from droids, they don't seem to be wearing Mandalorian armor, so I don't know at what point you pick up the Mandalorian armor and now that's your religion, but it really feels like he wasn't born into it, he just kind of adopted it at an older age. In every episode of The Mandalorian so far, all 3 of them, he has run into a situation that's too much for him, and it's some other force that gets him out of it. He worked with IG-11 to get out of the situation in episode 1. Without Yoda baby raising the big rhino, he'd have died in episode 2. I love the fact that he was gonna go out with his little butter knife, but he was still gonna die. Yoda baby got him out of it. In this episode, the same thing happens. He's in a firefight that's too much for him. He cannot get out of it. I like the fact that this show shows that mortality with the Mandalorian. Not that he's not badass in a fight. He's completely shown that he is, but he doesn't try to step up to people and try to posture like he is the biggest and the best. Generally speaking, he just wants to do the job, get paid, and go home, which is why this episode, character-wise, is so important. In a weird way, he kind of reminds me of Malcolm Reynolds from Firefly. He's not the biggest dude, but he's badass in his own right. And for the most part, you leave him alone, he'll leave you alone. He's got no need to beat you. He just wants to be on his way. But he has a bigger heart than maybe even he thought he had, and that heart is no doubt gonna get him wrapped up in something much bigger. And a lot of that credit's from the personality that comes through, mostly from body language. Granted, with the scenarios that are written around him and how he deals with them, if that's actually Pedro Pascal under that helmet, he's doing good work. And that's got me loving this show. So 3 episodes in, I'm digging The Mandalorian. Just a guy and his telepathic Yoda clone, baby. I mean, was that the first attempt? Was that Palpatine 50 years ago? So that predates The Phantom Menace? Was that Palpatine being like, I've cloned the greatest Jedi of all time. I will make him my apprentice, and the Jedi will... Wait, what? How long does it take? They age that slowly? I think I'm just gonna make a clone army of Jango Fett warriors and then embed an order into their brains that I can activate at the opportune moment. Yes, that's probably quicker. So I'm really liking The Mandalorian. I feel like I'm still in the introductory phase of his character. They could do stuff in this season that completely makes me go, oh, okay, this is whatever. Or they can do stuff in season 2 that does the same thing, but for right now, The Mandalorian is one of the more compelling things I've seen from Star Wars in a while. All right, so The Mandalorian episode 3 titled The Sin. Have you seen it? What did you think about it? Whatever you thought, comment below, let me know. And as always, if you like what you've seen here and you want to see more, click right here to see more.